Hey Zinies, we're going to take a look at pixels. What is a pixel? A pixel is a square of color. It is the digital representation of some image that in most cases a digital camera took. So when a digital camera looks out into the real world and takes a picture, it sees the real world and converts what it sees into little squares of color, and then that file comprised of little squares of color gets loaded into Photoshop for you to do your Photoshop work. Here is an example of two images, digital images, of a picture, not really a picture, an illustration of a camera. Notice on the left, it is comprised of squares of color, and on the right, it's also comprised with squares of color. But notice the one on the right is sharper. That's because it contains more pixels. More pixels were used to create the image. In other words, let's say you took this picture with two different cameras. The camera on the left that took this picture has only 44 pixels across and 44 pixels down to use to get the image it's going to take the picture of. Whereas the camera on the right has 88 pixels across and 88 pixels down, twice as many pixels to take the same picture. So you'll notice that the one on the right is higher resolution. That's what we mean by higher resolution. The one on the left is 44 pixels wide and 44 pixels across. That is its pixel dimensions. That is its image size. The one on the right is 88 pixels across and 88 pixels down. That is its dimension or image size. So there you see a comparison, and what you can probably figure out is the more pixels you have when you take the picture, when the camera takes the picture, the more information you have, the more detail you have. Now let's take a look at the same image, one low resolution, one high resolution. Here's a low resolution image of a woman with glasses on. Here is a high resolution image of a woman with glasses on. They look the same because with this high resolution, I happen to be zoomed out. In other words, I'm looking at it in Photoshop farther away, if you will, than I'm looking at this low resolution image. I can tell that because of that percentage up there in the File tab. 100%. That means this low resolution image, I'm looking at it at 100%. But this high resolution image, I'm looking at it at 6.25 of its normal size. 100% of its normal size means I'm seeing all the pixels. 6.25% of the normal size means I'm not seeing all the pixels. I'm not at 100%. Watch what happens when I go to 100%. I'm going to hit the Command key and then tap. I'm going to hold down the Command key and then tap the plus key, and you'll notice this keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And watch when I get to 100%. I'm just going to move down a little bit, and we see this beautiful face here, kind of goofy looking face, but notice all of the detail that you see. And we're looking at her, this high resolution, at 100%. Now watch what happens when I zoom in on this low resolution image. You can see the pixels. That's because I'm zooming in on it at more than 100%. There's that one. Let me even zoom in one more time. There's that one and that one. See the difference? A high resolution image, lots and lots of pixels. A low resolution image, not as many pixels. A high resolution image, lots of detail. A low resolution image, not so much detail. And so with a low resolution image, you don't have all the detail. The only way it's going to look good is if it's smaller. because when something's smaller, we can't see all the detail. Whereas a high resolution image, if you want it to be really, really big, it can only look good if it's high resolution. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Also, take a look at, if I go to the image size menu, it's going to tell me about this image. And notice it's telling me right here in pixels, and if it doesn't show pixels, you can change it right there. It says this image, the pixel dimensions is it's 600 pixels across and 400 pixels down. We're not going to worry about this pixels per inch thing. That's a little bit more complicated than we really want to get into in this class. You will learn more about it when you get into the print class, because primarily resolution, these pixels per inch, is used for printing. And your printer or whomever is asking you for a file, they will usually tell you what you need. So let's sort of ignore that for a second and just notice that this image, this picture of this woman, is 600 pixels by 400 pixels. Now let's take a look at the high resolution. The high resolution image size is 9,500 pixels across and 6,336 pixels down. That is so many more pixels. That was because this was taken, if you will, with a higher resolution camera than this one. That is what I want you to understand about pixels in this first video. Again, pixels are squares of color. They make up a digital image. When you have digital images, there is a total number of pixels in each image. A high resolution image has a lot of pixels in it. A low resolution doesn't have that many pixels in it. The high resolution image has more detail. Boom. The low resolution image doesn't have nearly as much detail. The high resolution image, you can't see the pixels when you get it bigger. The low resolution image, you can see the pixels. And in most cases, unless you're doing some sort of design that requires it, you don't want to see the pixels. So you always have to use an image that is high enough resolution to look good and have detail at the size you want to use it. If I wanted to use this image at a small size like this, then that would be fine. But if I want to use the image at this size, it's not going to be fine. However, if I want to use this image at this size, it will be fine. But notice it has enough pixels in it that if I did want to use it as a smaller size, that's fine as well. Okay? Got it? More pixels, bigger the image can be.